Hey everybody, this is David, and today I am going to be talking about how you should be watching the X-Men movies. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I'm sure a lot of you aren't sure what X-Men movie to start with. Some of you might not have seen any of the X-Men movies yet, and now with Days of Future Past already out on Blu-ray and DVD in North America, what better way to help a lot of you than give you a video tutorial on how to watch them. There are many ways you can watch these movies, and me personally, to me, you can really watch any of them and have a blast. But if you really watch them, all of them, in a certain order, you get the full movie experience, the full story of these characters and how they came to be, and why are they so rich now than they were when they first started. It's because of the growth throughout each movie, and so this is going to be helping all of you that aren't X-Men experts, X-Men experts, to follow the films the way they should be followed. You don't have to watch them that way, but believe me, it's a fun experience to watch them this way, and I think you'll all have a great time. So let's begin. And to start with, we're going to start with the original X-Men trilogy. So this is the trilogy that started it all, right? This is the reason we're getting spin-offs and sequels and all that. So, the first one you should start with is X-Men. This is the original film that came out in 2000. And this is not just important for the franchise, but it's also very important to note that, this is the first American movie Hugh Jackman was in. Hugh Jackman wouldn't be the star that he is today if it wasn't for X-Men. Yeah, maybe he would have found another role later down the line, but Hugh Jackman, this is the movie that really boosted his career into stardom. And you can tell the guy is really thankful of that because he still is returning to this day, 14 years into this X-Men franchise as Wolverine. People love him. And if you watch him in the original film and watch him today, you can see the guy is seriously Wolverine. He has, yeah, sure, I mean, the character is not supposed to age, and you can tell, okay, he's aged a bit throughout his years. Still, he holds up, man. I don't know how old Hugh Jackman is. I think he's in his mid-40s. If I look like him at 40, 45, whatever, I'd be happy, because the guy is... Yeah, well, you know what? I'm 31, and apparently I look 25, so... Or 27. I don't know. But, yeah, people tell me I look younger than I am, so... if I can look like Hugh Jackman, a real man, when I'm 45, I'd be super happy. Then we get on to X-Men 2. This movie is also titled X2. Sometimes it's also titled X2 X-Men United. Usually, though, it's usually titled X2, or short for X-Men 2. And the reason how you know this one is X-Men 2 is because Nightcrawler is in it, and Nightcrawler is a very popular character from the comic books, and he's a great character here, played by Alan Cumming. There's a lot of cool stuff, including Magneto sort of having to team up with the X-Men in this one. Wolverine learns a little bit more about his powers and his past, so that's really cool. And X-Men 2 is definitely considered one of the best of the franchise, so don't miss out on that one. Then you got X-Men The Last Stand. X-Men The Last Stand is not the most popular X-Men film in the franchise. In fact, it's actually my least favorite X-Men movie. Still, I think there's some good things to take from it. How do you know this one is X-Men 3? This is the one where Jean Grey becomes the Phoenix. The one where she just stands there and stares at people, and shit happens. So, I don't know. To me, the problem with this movie is more that it's too many characters, unnecessary, and I think they kill off some characters in this one that were unnecessary deaths, and that's why I consider it the weakest one. And it's a little bit too rushed, in my opinion, also, but that's what happens when you have an hour and 40-minute movie and you try cramming every damn character from the X-Men universe. Then, after you get away from the X-Men trilogy, you have the Wolverine trilogy. Okay, it's not a trilogy yet, but it will be. So you start with X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is the one that shows how Wolverine got the metal claws and all that, because the first 3 movies didn't really explain that fully. So they thought it would be fun to make a sequel or prequel and explain all that. And this one is also considered one of the weakest in the franchise. Why? Because some people felt it was unnecessary to tell this story, since the first 2 movies really established that it didn't really matter. They answered enough questions, they answered who was involved, but it's good to have a little bit of mystery. This one answers it, and a lot of fans were disappointed. Mostly because of the whole Deadpool thing. Deadpool, in the beginning, was played by Ryan Reynolds. But then at the end, Ryan Reynolds didn't return, but the character came back as this Mortal Kombat-ish kind of thing. And that's kind of what pissed off people, was that ending. Because Deadpool is supposed to be this funny guy that can break the fourth wall, right? So hopefully the Deadpool spin-off will be much better and redeem the character. Then we get into the Wolverine. This is the second Wolverine movie that just came out last year in 2013. And this is the one where Wolverine goes to Japan. To me, it's a pretty solid film. It's not the best one, but it's good. And I think a lot of people were more happier with this one than they were with the last Wolverine movie. Now, earlier I said there's going to be a Wolverine trilogy, right? So where's the third one? The third one is scheduled to come out in 2017. So you don't have to worry about it just yet. But you know what? X-Men Origins Wolverine and The Wolverine, they really stand well on their own. You don't even need the X-Men franchise to follow what's going on in these 2 movies. Though there are characters and Easter eggs that, you know, if you want to know who they are, they might have popped up in other X-Men films. You'll never know. So, with that being said, yeah, watch the Wolverine, those 2 Wolverine movies. Then we got the X-Men First Class trilogy, which, again, it's not really a completed trilogy yet. So why is it called X-Men First Class? Because it's a prequel and it shows how Xavier and Magneto formed the X-Men. I said Magneto for a reason, because Magneto does play a big part. Remember, Magneto and Xavier were friends. That's what the original trilogy established. And somewhere along the line, they became enemies for some reason. This movie shows how they became enemies. And what's great about it is that, you know, Magneto is definitely the highlight of this film for me. Played by Michael Fassbender, who some of you might know was that scary guy in 12 Years a Slave. He really does a terrific job as Magneto. And Magneto isn't this black or white villain, you know. Obviously, he's not a white villain. But he's not this black villain. He's not all the way evil, you know what I mean? He's in a gray tone. He's bad, yes, but he's also good, which is kind of weird for me to say. What I'm trying to say is he's actually conflicted. He had these good points at what he's doing, but at the same time he's going about them all the wrong way, and that's what makes Magneto a fascinating character, is that he, you know, he's not bad. He's just sick and tired of the way people have been treating him. And that's what I think a lot of people really like about the X-Men franchise. It's that, you know, it's not all black and white. Not everyone is pure good. Not everyone is pure bad. There is a code that some of them follow. But then there's the ones, they don't follow anything. They're just sick and tired of the way people are treating them. And that's what I guess people like about the franchise, you know, racist, prejudice. It has all of those themes in these films that I think a lot of people can relate to, even people that were bullied for, you know, being different. I think there's a lot there that a lot of people can really relate to, and that's why X-Men is still one of the most popular franchises to this day. With that being said, then we move on to Days of Future Past. This is the movie that's the sequel to First Class, but in some ways it's also an ending to the original trilogy. That's the interesting thing about Days of Future Past, because they do bring back a lot of the old cast members, because they're in the future segment. X-Men Days of Future Past is a time travel story. So because the First Class characters take place in the 60s, or in this movie now it's the 70s, the X-Men actors from the original trilogy, who are from the not too distant future, have to travel back in time to, you know, try to change something in the past that could stop this war between humans and mutants that has happened and gotten worse throughout the years, that these robots are now killing humans too. So that's this 3 separate movies, trilogies that you can watch. And Days of Future Past is going to be a complete trilogy also, because Fox announced that X-Men Apocalypse will be coming out in 2016. There's also another spin-off movie for Deadpool, like I mentioned earlier, where Ryan Reynolds will return as that character and in his own solo movie. So, those are all the movies, okay? The X-Men trilogy, the Wolverine trilogy, soon to be a completed trilogy in 2017. Then we got X-Men First Class trilogy, which will be a completed trilogy for sure in 2016. And we even got a Deadpool movie coming. So yeah, guys, this is great. Don't worry about the other upcoming films for now. Just worry about the movies that are here, which are 7 of them really. So that's, yeah, the X-Men trilogy, First Class, Days of Future Past, which is another group, and then you got the Wolverine films, which are X-Men Origins Wolverine and the Wolverine. So those are the films. Now, what if you want to have the full X-Men experience and watch them all in a certain order? Here it is. This is how I've been watching it on my marathon this week. First, you want to start off with X-Men First Class. Remember, this movie takes place in the 60s, so you want to start off with this one because it is the formation of the X-Men. Then you want to move on to X-Men Origins Wolverine. This one, the majority of the film takes place maybe in the late 70s, late 80s. Mostly in the late 80s, because what does Xavier say to Wolverine in the original X-Men movies? It's been 15 years, hasn't it? That's right. Wolverine has forgotten for 15 years. He's been wandering around not knowing what the hell happened for 15 years. So this movie should take place 15 years before the original X-Men. That's where you move on to the original X-Men. The original X-Men would be the 3rd film where you watch. After that, you move on to X-Men 2. X-Men United, or whatever the hell you want to call it. This is where the war is starting to brew more, and you also get some good character development for Wolverine, where he starts learning more about his past, even though you already seen it. Then finally you go on to X-Men The Last Stand. This is the final war between mutants and humans, and Magneto is trying to cause all this crap that's going on. Plus you have Jean... I shouldn't spoil that. And all this shit happens, and oh man. So X-Men The Last Stand is that war that's been building up since the first X-Men movie, and that finally happens in this one. Then you move on to the Wolverine. That's the 2nd Wolverine movie, the one where he goes to Japan, remember? This one takes place after The Last Stand, maybe a couple years after, because Wolverine is now on his own, but what connects it is that Jean Grey is in it. She plays a big part because Wolverine, we find out, hasn't gotten over something. I don't want to spoil it, so just watch it and you'll understand. And then finally, you want to watch X-Men Days of Future Past. This is the 7th film, and you want to watch it as the 7th film. Why? Because not only is it a continuation of both X-Men First Class and X-Men, it also does something for both of them to help continue, so X-Men Apocalypse can go on and not have to worry about future sequels, you know? Like, they can do whatever they want going forward. believe me, when you watch these movies in order, it will make a lot more sense. I'm probably not making a lot more sense. I'm sorry, making things sound more confusing than they actually are. But believe me, if you watch the movies in this order, it will all make sense and you'll enjoy it a lot. So guys, that's it. That's my X-Men, the way I would do an X-Men marathon, and hopefully this helps you, for people that, you know, never seen the movies before but want to get into it because you want to see what all the hype is about, especially getting ready for X-Men Apocalypse coming out in 2016. You might want to get ready for Deadpool also. So Ryan Reynolds is in X-Men Origins Wolverine, don't forget that. And then you also have a third Wolverine movie, which is rumored it might be coming out in 2017. It could move, who knows. But as far as we know, a lot of people are speculating that it might be Hugh Jackman's last time as Wolverine. He might want to retire after this, and who knows, maybe he will. He is getting old, and, you know, Wolverine has to look young, right? He can't age, sort of. So hopefully if that is true, and that does turn out to be Hugh Jackman's last movie, hopefully they give him a really good send-off, because the guy deserves it. He's put so much time into this franchise that, you know, thank you, Mr. Jackman, as if he's actually gonna watch this. So yeah, guys, go watch the X-Men movies, have fun, and see you next time.